And we are here live for our third annual New Mexico Delft Virtual Conference. As you can see down on our slide here, we have the sign in. Please, if you're attending, go to the sign in. You'll have to type this in, signin.nndelft.org, or you can use a little QR code right there. So we will give you a minute to sign in. And welcome to the presenter, Don Dutton. He's going to be presenting Essential TESOL highlights from the 2019 Atlanta Conference. For those of you who couldn't make it to the conference, this will be very interesting. It's about the trends, news, updates, rumors, and gossip in the ELA topics. So with no further ado, please type your name in the chat if you are watching live and any questions you might have or audio issues. And so now I'm getting ready and we are going to turn it over to Don. So welcome, Don.
Thank you, and hello everyone listening live and or on a recording. Very happy to be here for our third annual conference. I'm talking today about the Atlanta Conference, the Teachers of English to Students of Other Languages, the international ESL and ELA organization that has this annual conference. This was the second one I've attended. The last one was in Long Beach, California, and that was probably 10 or 12 years ago, and I was very interested in seeing this one. It's a big conference and very international in scope. 900 sessions, 6,500 attendees, a distance learning strand that I attended. The 4 keynote speakers I will talk about today, and the exhibit hall was amazing with the State Department Education affiliate there looking to hire people to teach English all over the place and in embassies and things like that. And that was very interesting for me because that's where I started my career teaching for the Turkish American Association in Ankara, Turkey, and then I worked for Sony in Tokyo when my wife was at the embassy there. I was in the Foreign Service for 4 years, mostly teaching English. So that was very interesting. And here we have trends and news and updates and things that'll probably come in the form of my opinion about things and people I met along the way. So let's get started. There I am with my partner Monse on the left. We are your English language department at NM Delft. Standing here in the convention center. This event was at the Atlanta CNN Omni Hotel Convention Center, a massive structure with a hotel and a convention center, and next to the State Farm Arena where the Atlanta Hawks played professional basketball, and all kinds of things were right around there, right downtown Atlanta. And the first thing I want to talk to you about is 3 things I learned at this event. Number 1, robots will not be taking our jobs anytime soon. I was able to look at some really fresh data and listen to people talk about programs and listen to some programs and watch, not live, unfortunately. There was a robot there I didn't get to see, I think it was. But I watched people report on robots, and I watched videos of robots, and most likely scenarios that we will be working with robots soon enough. This generation, within between 10 and 20 years, something like that, we may have a robot assistant in class, which seems like a workable thing. But what we do in teaching English, and especially to people of other languages that are all very confusing and linguistically different, it's a very hard thing for a robot to understand and answer what the questions that we do every day. So take heart that the robots will not be knocking on your door anytime soon. Artificial intelligence, AI, is good, and in fact, I saw something this morning on Tina's session here at 9 o'clock this morning that was printing out every word she said on the screen, and it was working very accurately. And I don't know, I I had not seen that before. But AI is good, and it's not quite there yet. What we're looking at generally in learning software with AI is voice recognition and voice to text and those kinds of things, like I just mentioned with Tina. A lot of it is not quite there inside the learning programs that we work with. There may be other applications that are just absolutely perfect. But we know, those of you who have iPhones, you know, if you ask Siri something, sometimes if you're asking for Chinese pizza, you might get sent to Chinese restaurant. So little tiny things like that sometimes are difficult to hear for AI. So we're watching that, and that doesn't seem to be quite there yet either. However, as far as students on their phones and our work making sure that all of our online learning programs are phone ready and mobile friendly, that is 100% true, and we're actually way behind the times not making sure that that's happening right now, because they are on their phones. Our students are on their phones in social media, and we need to join them. I wanted to talk about the 4 keynote speakers. They were the featured speakers. They were the people that were talking to the entire group, the thousands and thousands that were there. The first one on Tuesday was K. David Harrison. He talked about lost languages and kind of opened up a dialogue that I heard more than once at this event about languages inside our classrooms, and the extent to which we have, I think, well, maybe not, we have, generally speaking, research shows us that it's okay for people to speak their own language, and that monolingualism is really a thing of the past. And I don't know that I personally was ever told my students, don't speak any other language, right? Maybe inside my classroom, maybe yes, but I never really told anybody to only speak English at home. I have always encouraged my students to keep their language fresh at home. And we know that students not only need to speak, but need to learn to read and write in their native language as well, or these kinds of things happen. Native languages are lost. Most of the languages that he talked about were from, small areas and small places where there weren't very many people speaking that language, initially, but people are learning English or other languages and not speaking their native tongue, and that's a shame that those are lost in that pursuit. Bilingual is okay in the classroom, and I'll be talking about that a little bit more later. The second speaker, Luciana, was fantastic. I really enjoyed her speaking. She talked about teacher training. She talked about what expertise do teachers need. Of course, high quality training, and her mention of a global perspective was very much in tune with this conference being an international event, this convention being an international event. Boy, oh boy, I listened to people from all over the place, and I do not remember the last time I went to this conference it being quite so international. It was wonderful. The reason I've enjoyed teaching English so much is for that exact reason, the multiculturalism. She used the word plural linguistic. Plural linguistic is a goal for her. That and her intention was to meet the demand of our pluralistic, plural cultural society. America is multicultural. Our students are multilingual, and we need to challenge monolingualism. The idea that our students are that's why we don't say ESL anymore. We say English language acquisition, because our students, it's not a second language, it may be a third or a fourth, that are learning English. And it's okay to use other languages inside the classroom as well. The third speaker talked about the LGBTQ community and their rights and expectations and inside the classroom. This presentation was, I think, directed more at policymakers and schools in general, because her intention on Elise was her point was that we are not doing enough. We are not accepting enough of LGBTQ members. That's that group, and that we need to do more. Inside the classroom, if she was speaking about inside the classroom, I have to disagree. I found that we have literally had, well, let me change that. I have literally had students from countries that are at war with each other. And what do we want to do in the classroom? We want to learn English. That's all we want to do. I believe our classrooms are quintessentially egalitarian, and that we do a fantastic job. We invented pronouns, right? We own the pronouns, right? So if someone wants to be called her, if someone wants to be called he, she, he, that's just tell me, and we accept you. I think what do? We have multi-level classrooms, right? All kinds of different levels, and we've always been multicultural and multilingual inside our classrooms, and everyone is equal. Everyone is expected to do the same. Everyone is expected to do the work and get along and like that. So I think inside our classrooms, we are an example for the world. The last speaker was a powerful speaker from, I thought, Pedro Noguera, who talked about the power of knowledge and our expectations for our students. His own story was one of tough childhood, tough time in school, and he got through it. People believed in him, and his point was that any amount of work, any amount of step moving forward ought to be celebrated and not discounted in any student's work at any level. So something to keep in mind. An idea that came up at this conference more than once again was from, as I understand it, Steve Jobs around 1984 said this, and he wanted to get people to move from consumer to creator. And inside our classroom, if you think about it, what we want people to do is have projects, have groups, have an idea or a goal that is accomplished with collaboration inside a group inside the classroom. We in a project-based, competency-based kind of classroom, we have students producing, and not always under the direction of the teacher. The creator is not waiting for the teacher to tell him or her what to do. The consumer is waiting to be taught. Here, teach me, right? I think the creator wants to learn. It's a brilliant idea. It struck me at this conference. Maybe I'd heard it before, but it struck me as genius, as a definition of what we do already in our classroom, moving away from the passive learner, from the entitled, from the person looking for guidance, to the person creating and actively involved and invested and risk-taking and self-motivated, etc.
And I would like to add to that, actually, too. This is really important when it comes to digital equity, because if an instructor is just trying to use technology for technology's sake, they're not really doing a good service for their students, because what we're trying to do is get them to be creators and go from consumer to creator. So I just wanted to add that.
Thank you. It's so true, so true. I made another slide here of just some images of consumers and some images of creators. I thought was pointed it out on the left here. Are you thirsty? You have an awful lot of choices to make, and on the right, there's more thought going on. There's more innovation. There's more collaboration. And again, on the top right here, we see a guy working on his computer. Digital equity, digital literacy is one way that this is going to make this happen. The sessions that I attended were numerous. I can't remember, 14, 15 sessions, but I'm just going to talk about a couple here that I thought were outstanding, that caught my attention. Digital tools to support English learners in content areas was from this woman, Jen McGarner from Ohio. teaching sixth grade students. And she used this quote from the ISTE standards. We are moving from consumer to creator when we use digital tools. Of course, when we use them to create, but that is our goal, right? She used a variety of things. Her presentation was very interactive. And she used Cahoots, and that's something that a lot of us are familiar with. And a lot of you use Flipgrid. I had not seen before, but it's a free site. It's an immersive reader and a translator. And again, the idea of translator comes into play, where before we would use, and even low level English classes, we would use realia, we would use objects, we would use other things to define what this thing is. And now there's nothing wrong with using a translator now. Most of my students have something on their phone that does that. I had a student recently kind of put her phone in my face and implore me to repeat what I just said so that then she could listen to the translation. Amenti.com, Padlet, and Nearpod were other things that she uses, and we've worked with those before. Again, the International Society for Technology and Education guides the use of technology in education in many ways. And I mentioned that quote from Misty I just used there about becoming a creator through digital literacy. This video that I'd like to play for you now is caught my eye at the content of it, and I will warn you in advance. Unfortunately, I apologize if the sound is an issue here. We have had not sure about the sound here, but it is subtitled. Please listen to the words or read the words of this. I think it's very good. Whoops. Let's try that again here.
Don, I'll jump in and let you know if we're having any audio problems with that, and I will monitor the chat and see if they can hear.
Oh, okay, thank you. Let's try this again.
I don't seem to be hearing anything, but you have captions if you want to continue or not. And for those of you listening, we don't have audio for this, but we do have some captions that will kind of give you an idea of what's in the video. If you'd like to search YouTube later, the audio will probably be available to you. Okay, John. So that is the ITSE standard, and back to you now.
Yeah, again, I apologize if there was. I guess there was no sound, Terry. Is that right?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
There was no sound, I'm sorry, Don, but we did get an idea because they did have quite a good
Yeah, it's
subtitles in that.
a cute.
So yes, in another, I want to put a little shameless plug in here for Anand. If you need some more resources when it comes to ISTE, check out our website at www.nmdelft.org. We find these very important, and we will be increasing knowledge about this. Give us a call or come visit our website. Back to you.
Thank you. A session I really enjoyed was this man. I had to take a selfie of him rather. Bill Bliss is a hero of mine. I've been reading his books for many years. He's the author, a co-author of Side by Side and Career View and a word by word photo dictionary and so many things. He's currently promoting his new book, Career View, which is focused on career career readiness, that sort of thing. He talked a lot about how we need to prepare our students. It was really funny. He said that he had talked to many business people that said if someone can do a PowerPoint presentation, that would be enough to get them hired. And I thought, well, okay, if somebody can do a PowerPoint presentation, they're going to be digitally literate. They're going to be able to organize their ideas. They're going to be able to speak to their ideas. They're going to be able to present, to speak out in front of a group, either virtually or in person, and a variety of things that probably employers are looking for. So it was a very interesting point by him to mention that in his session. A couple of other sessions I went to using listening standards to plan instruction, and listening standards I'm not familiar with, and apparently these are coming to us. Jamie Adelson Goldstein, Lori Howard, and Sylvia Ramirez, rock stars of ELA methodology. Probably some of you know the Venture series books. Sylvia's from San Diego. I worked with her for a few years out there, off and on. She's in North County, and she's a co-author of the Venture series. And these ladies have written other books and co-written other books as well. The listening standards in 2019, I think, will help to frame our lesson plans. And their methods are all about student engagement, all about students doing the work. And I know everyone understands that in a very basic sense, most of us talk too much in the classroom. And anytime that we can have the students do more of the talking, more of the everything, that's a good thing. And technology is a real good way to get students doing that because that's their own work on their own device. So we want to encourage that as well. I attended a session called the Nexus of Rigor, again by these three ladies, and it was mainly about keeping expectations high. And I think it was the last session or second to the last that I saw on Friday was preparing for the future, collaboration, creativity, and community through computing. Greg Kessler is an international speaker from Ohio, who made the point that our students are as I mentioned earlier, they're on the internet, they're on social media. He had statistics from January this year. Facebook is still number one, followed by YouTube, and WhatsApp. Those three are the largest in the world as far as number of subscribers, number of users. Whether you use any of those, anything you use that can allow your students to work on anything outside of the classroom, whether it's just communication with you and or their team or the entire class on a project, is a good thing. That's a job skill. That's something that they're going to have to be using. We know that we use computers in everything that we do. Every job has computers. So our job is to make sure that our students are digitally literate and particularly can communicate and collaborate and create within a group like that on communicating virtually. As far as the other ISTE standards, the 7 standards about being critical about information they find on the web and not just Googling everything and believing every single word that they hear without backing up with a few other sources, that kind of thing. So all of that is good, really, really good sessions. I want to just mention that if those of you who are interested next year, this guy here, this 3 or 4 story bear is in Denver, Colorado, and the COAVE conference was at this location, near this location, in a couple of years ago, and the TESOL conference convention will be there in 2020. Anytime that we have a conference like this, it's pretty close to New Mexico. That's a pretty cool thing. It's a wonderful thing. I had a great time. My head was filled with ideas and excitement after I left this conference, and I encourage anyone that can to make plans for next year. Same dates actually, March 31st, April 3rd, 2020. And this slide presentation and everything that we do, as well as the ELA Tech Talks and Tech Talks that Terry does. These are put up on our web at nmdelft.org, and for training, please request at nmdelft.org connect with us support, and to get assistance from a team member, go to our site and look at connect with us and meet the team to look at our pictures. We all have our pictures on there. We've all written some information about what we kind of focus on, what our strengths are, what we can help you with. So we encourage you to look at that on our website as well. This is our last screen, or almost. Terry, I guess I'll ask you at this time, do we have any questions out there pending?
Hi, Don. I've been monitoring the chat, and we have a couple comments. It seems that it's very important for Cecilia says it's very important to let them speak their native language. So there's a lot of strong feelings about that. And I agree with Cecilia that it's very, very important. I actually had a question myself. There's a lot of mandatory trainings that we need to go to as adult ed instructors. And one of them has to do with harassment and things like that. So microaggressions. So there are so many different cultures that we might encounter in an ELA class or an English language learners class. How can we be knowledgeable about so many cultures so that we don't offend them? How do you do it, or what advice do you have for that?
Yeah, good question. My experience really all over the world, teaching in Japan, Turkey, Mexico, and this country, and I've encountered a variety of people. I'm not saying I'm all worldly, but the best thing to do is to talk to them. What I've found, students who I ask them, what would you like to be called? As far as someone, transgender person possibly, who is, for lack of a better term, looks male to me, and isn't, whatever pronoun they choose, that's the best thing. Talk to them. That's the only advice I can give you, other than I can't think of anything else that would cover all of that, because there is a lot, and not just the LGBT community, but of course religious and cultural communities too. How should I say? What shouldn't say? Should I stand near you? Should I not? What, lots of questions like that.
I agree, Don, and especially I think you hit on a good point. Even if you just start watching with your pronouns, we're taking it for granted that the pronouns just flow sometimes, and you don't mean to use one or the other. But that's a huge thing, and being aware of it, I think, will help you. And I just wanted to say I recognize that blue bear there. Conferences in Denver,
yep.
And as far as English language and TESOL, it seems that it'd be an oxymoron, or wouldn't make sense that it could be anything but an international conference, because nationally we have all international, it's just multicultural, it's international. So
Oh,
it,
no,
I,
it makes all the sense in the world. Yes.
exactly. So that's all it has to be. And I've always been like, crazy about the acronyms. They're famous for their acronyms. And I saw a lot of acronyms in your presentation.
Oh,
What is the appropriate acronym now? Do we say English language learners, ELA?
we do say ELL when we talk about our students.
Talk about
ELL, English language
English
learners.
language learners.
ELA is
ESL
English language acquisition.
and ESL is
ESL has been replaced by ELA, and
okay.
primarily to get rid of the word second, because so many of our students are learning a third or fourth language. The English language acquisition covers, and it also covers anyone who could be a native English speaker. I mean, we know in teaching, there are some people who have only spoken English in their lives, but don't do it very well. And certainly don't read or write very well. In our cases of high school equivalency, in those classrooms, English language acquisition is for them as well. Adequate English language acquisition to be able to take it, pass the high school equivalency exam, or go to college. So it covers all of those things.
Yes, I think I have gotten a certificate in understanding ESL at the time. That was 10 years ago, a decade ago. So keeping updated on these things. Well, the Delt website is a great place to go to keep updated on things like this. And so I have not seen anything else in the chat. So we should be wrapping it up, I guess. This ELA track rocks. So please stay tuned for our next presentation, which should be, if I'm looking right, by Monty, Google Tools and add-ons to take your English instruction to the next level. And please encourage all your instructors or coworkers to come back and watch the recording of this. It was very exciting. Thank you, Don.
And we have an announcement about the next ELA Tech Talk on Wednesday next week, on the 17th at 12:30. Join Monse and me, please, for our third in our spring series of talks, for the ELA Tech Talk number 3, please.
All right. And those are always very entertaining, and they're recorded and posted on our website too. So thank you again for joining us, and thank you in the chat for participating. And I hope that you'll join our next session, which should be starting exactly at 12, and we will see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.